Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Live with Uncle Jesse's Storytime with Uncle Jesse, episode 3. No sales items list. No interruptions. Jacob DeGreat. What's going on, Jacob? Grab a seat. Storytime with Uncle Jesse. Oh, I do have the sales items list. God damn it. All right, well, if you hit the sales items list, we're not going to rip it until later. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another live Storytime Live with Uncle Jesse. All right, let's get after it. If you joined us before in the past, you'll know that usually we do have some junk wax getting ripped, but tonight we're going to just do a half hour before we go live. The sales items list is live. I can't seem to remember not to put the sales items list on. If you buy anything through the next half hour, we'll rip it when we go live in about a half hour. I got a baseball here to remind us of the upcoming signed baseball repack event. That's right, we have a Willie Mays autographed baseball coming up. This one here is signed by the entire Red Sox team. Bob Stanley, Rick Miller, Dennis Eckersley, Carney Lansford, old school Red Sox, Tony Perez, Ralph Houck, the manager. Manager always seems to sign right in the middle. He gets it first. But today we're going to get into the career I left. What's up, Skills House? The career I left to do this. I would make the same decision over again, but I left a six-figure career to come and do this. I went from being from what most people call well off. I wasn't rich. To what most people could invariably call broke. But I'm living the dream. I get to hang out with my friends every night, play with my baseball cards, and it's tough to trade in. I don't know that I'd trade it. I do go back to the hotel every now and again and get nostalgic, the guys that are all there. I do miss it, being a part of the city like that. Something different about being a doorman. I went to school for hotel management when I was a kid, trying to figure out what I was going to do for college. My mom asked, this is a town hall. It's Storytime with Uncle Jesse, episode 3. Episode 1, we talked about how I got into sports card collecting. Episode 2, we talked about how I started Fresh Bowls. And today here in episode 3, we're going to talk about what I left to get here. I was supposed to be the money man. Like when I first got back into sports card collecting, I reached out to a cousin of mine and asked him to kind of look into it and see if sports cards was a viable option for a business and making any money. And he learned about Instagram and breaking, like card breaks and box breaks. We started with half a box of basketball cards, half a box of Optic, looking for Zion Williamson and John Morant rookies. The next half box went the next night. F and Scotty, what's going on? The sales items list is up, ladies and gentlemen. If you make any purchases, we're not going to rip them until the second half of the episode when we go live tonight at 9 o'clock. G-Lock should join us at some point in time. We're going to do 5 minutes with G-Lock in the box. But when I went to school for hotel management, the best advice I got was go get a job in a hotel and see if you want to be a manager, because it's a lot of work. And the payoff doesn't really come till 15, 20 years down the line. So the first summer, I grabbed my little briefcase and I got my resume together and I marched around to every hotel in the city. And I dropped my resume off. I went into human resources and asked for a entry-level management position. If there were any entry-level management positions open, I would like to be considered. And when I finally got to the Boston Harbor Hotel, which was a building that I had seen my whole life. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Boston skyline, but there's a building with a big archway in the middle when you look from the harbor. And there used to be an old elevated expressway. To drive through Boston, my family was in Revere, to drive through Boston to get to the tunnel, you had to drive over the elevated expressway through Boston, probably at about like the 7th story, looking at all the buildings. And I would look through that archway and say I wanted to work there when I was older. And I didn't even know it was a hotel. When my mom asked me what I wanted to go to school for, what I enjoyed doing, I thought I was a smart ass. I said I like going on vacation. So she made me think about it a little. She's like, what do you like about going on vacation? And I said, well, I like staying in hotels. She goes, well, go find out if being like a hotel manager is something like that you'd want to do. So when I went to UMass Amherst, we had a seminar. The guy that was like the regional vice president of Marriott said, go get a job in a hotel because it's a lot of work being the manager. He said, most of the managers are putting in more hours than anybody there. He said, whatever you do, don't do the math to figure out how much you're making per hour, because you'll be making, my mom was pretty cool, yeah, she's pretty quick. You'll be making more, the housekeepers and the front desk staff will be making more hourly than you will, and it'll drive you crazy. So my first summer, I finally got to the Boston Harbor Hotel. I realized it was a hotel, and I was like, oh, this is serendipitous. I go in and I sit down with the human resources director, and I say, you know, I'm looking for an entry-level position for the summer, management position. And he laughed at me. He was the first one that was honest with me. Everybody else just let me leave the room. He laughed and he said, my man, nobody's going to give you a management position just for the summer. That's not how this works. He said, I'll tell you what, I need a couple of valets. Why don't you start parking cars? What's up, Dan Andrews? I said, okay, but I can't drive standard. He's like, we'll teach you. I was like, all right. Well, as soon as I left that room, I remembered getting a letter in the mail at UMass that said something about like too many speeding tickets, so I had to take a driver's retraining class so my license would get suspended. So I got my first valet job with a suspended license, but I was wicked good at it. I finally learned how to drive standard. If anybody's ever tried to teach anybody how to drive standard, I know it's been a long time, it's a thing of the past. But they always told me that like you have to come on and off at the same time, like it has to be equal. And I kept stalling out until finally somebody told me, no, just take your foot off the clutch really, really slow, and at some point the car will start to move on its own. A car with a good enough clutch, a Porsche, if you just come off the clutch slow enough, it'll just roll into first gear, no stall at all. So he said, as soon as you feel the car start to move a little bit, then you start to give it some gas. You can even feather it in. I finally figured it out. What's up, Slayer? So I was crushing, and my manager kept asking me, did you get that driving record yet? Did you get that driving record yet? Did you give me that driving record yet? So after about a month into the summer, like halfway through the summer, I finally get my driving record. I had taken the class. At that point, the first thing I did when I got the job was go sign up for the class. I took the class, got my driving record, sent it to him. And when he saw the suspension on it, he's like, my man, he's like, I can't believe you let you drive with a suspended license all this time. He goes, at this point in time, you're the best valet I got. He's like, so get back to work. But working with the doorman that summer opened my eyes. Like, he had such a stranglehold on the city and was such a part of the city that I needed it. Like, I needed to be that guy. I did go back to school for one more semester. It was UMass Amherst, so I don't have to tell you how that went. I ended up getting a letter from the dean that said, why don't you take a semester off and think about life? See if this is what you want. He actually called me and he said, you've taken calculus five times. So I had taken it, I think 4 times. I took it my first semester, failed. Somebody told me if you take it again, you can take the F off your GPA, failed. Took it the 3rd semester, failed. Took it the 4th semester, failed. It was the hardest class at UMass. And I signed up for a winter session. And he called me into the office and he's like, listen, you can't do that without permission of the dean. He's like, I'm the dean. I did not give you permission for this. He's like, take the winter class and then take the next semester off and think about this. Well, I took the winter class. Did you buy all these packs when you were younger, or did you just buy them all recently? Recently, Mark Carrillo. I stopped collecting 1991. I kind of ran the same path that most people did. And I didn't realize it at the time. I just thought it was really unique to me because of the junk wax era. I turned 8 in 1986, 12, 13 in 1992. So I started collecting at 8, finished collecting at like 13, 14 when my first friend got his driver's license and we started to meet girls and stuff like that. But I thought that was unique to the junk wax era. Sports cards was booming from 1987 to 1992. And that's when I was elbow deep. But I grew up and moved on. And I didn't realize until now working at the shop, everybody that comes in and puts down their sports card collection from when they were a kid, it's about 6 years long, 5, 6 years long, and I can tell about how old they were and the years that they were from the cards that they put down. And I think it's like at 8 years old, you're just old enough to take care of the cards. You're just old enough to understand the players, and it's finally something that you and your dad can hang out with and talk about and watch the games. And as you get older and you get more into it, dad gets into it, you spend that time together. But as kids do, they grow up, and you start to have friends, and they become more important, and then you meet girls, and that's the most important thing in the world. And then you're off on your own. So when I see people come in with their collections, I can tell almost exactly how old they are by that 8 to 12-year-old window and when they collected. And I stopped collecting in '92, kind of forgot about it. I left all the stuff in my basement. Fortunately, my parents split up just before I went to college, but my dad kept the house. I moved back into the house when I got out of college. My dad moved out, and I took over the house. So all my stuff was still in the basement. All my stuff was still down there. And Christmas before the pandemic, a cousin of mine was telling me about grading. I was born in 1991. My mom had boxes full, and I ended up messing them up. It took them to 2012, not knowing the value of them. Oof. You know, there was a dark ages of sports time cards where a lot of people did get rid of them. That's why a lot of this junk wax stuff just got tossed. And I got to figure at some point in time we're going to run out of this shit. It's going to go from being overproduced to scarce. But when I got back into collecting right before the pandemic, it was all modern stuff. Nobody wanted any of this junk wax. Like when I tell you they laughed at me, I mean genuinely. They were mad. They were chasing John Morant's and Zion Williamson's, and whenever they'd stop, it was on Instagram, you know what I mean? It's this music on Instagram, chilling. They'd be breaking, they'd do a break, and then my cousin would go sit down and sort the cards, and Jeff would go sit down on the computer, and then the camera would just be staring at the table, and it drove me crazy. So I brought in a box of 1990 Score baseball. This was the first Junk Wax Thursday box. I had this sitting at home from when I was a kid. Somehow I managed not to open it. I took it into work, and when they were done ripping, I would get behind the camera and I'd start reading Fernando Valenzuela, Bo Jackson, and like making jokes about all the players. My cousin was pissed. He said, "You're gonna ruin our mojo. You're gonna have people thinking that we could do all that junk wax." Like he thought I was gonna ruin the show with junk wax, trash. And it wasn't until we got to the shop when we weren't doing the old stuff, and people kept asking. When are you going to open the junk wax stuff? When are you going to open the old stuff? When are you going to open the junk wax stuff? So my cousin got frustrated. He got mad. And we went to the National in Chicago. And the box that I was ripping, the 1990 Fleer, so I graduated. I started buying boxes. 1990 Fleer basketball. This was the first box anybody would pay me for. 1990 Score. Nobody was really chasing that Bo Jackson yet. But in 2021, when was Chicago? I think I got the Trade Night t-shirt on. Check this out. Trade Night Chicago 2021. Chicago Trade Night 2021. We went to Chicago. This box had gone up to $320 at the height of the pandemic, when things were at the height of the hobby, when things were going crazy. This box went up to $320. And Jeff, my partner, looked at the box and he said, "Is this the box that you've been opening and just throwing all the kids in the trash?" And I said, "Yes. You can put 30 gallons of water, and I have Tupperware on an open baseball card. It's my favorite." Tupperwares, yeah. So we had a guy come in with Tupperwares full of 90s baseball cards that I thought was going to be trash. He ended up having boxes of Topps Finest Basketball and the Ken Griffey Jr. Mickey Mantle dual auto. It was the coolest thing we've ever consigned. Ended up selling for like 14 grand. It was wild. But no, when I got back into it, we bought like 3 or 4 boxes at the National, and they said, "All right, let's see if anybody will buy this stuff." They didn't believe in it. They didn't believe in me, I guess. And they gave me 1 hour on Thursday night. That's why I still call it Junk Wax Thursday. Whether it's Friday, Saturday mornings when we're doing wrestling, it's always Junk Wax Thursday, because they said you can have 1 hour, 1 day a week. And I was ripping that whole hour. The whole hour, people were like, "This is great, it's fun." I was like, "This is fun," and I was having fun. And then it went to 2 hours and 3 hours and 6 hours. We were the first on Loop to $1 million in sales. And I had my own slot. And for the longest time, I was telling people, "I've got the largest junk wax collection in the world. You're not going to find anything like this on the internet." And now, shit, that might even be true. Like, I've seen some shops on TikTok. Like, I know there are some stores that have a wider selection than I do. But they invested a lot of money. We did this makeshift. Like, this is, it looks like a gigantic operation, but it's $20 boxes from the 80s. Yeah, $20 boxes turned into, some of them are $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $12,000 boxes. You can buy Kobe stuff that gets out of hand. And that's what happened. 1990, 91, 89 Upper Deck came along. this was the beginning of the change. This was when things started to get out of hand. This was the first time you could get a card packed fresh that was worth $50. The Mark McGuire USA card was worth $50 in 1988 when he started hitting ridiculous home runs. But that was already 4 or 5 years old. This was the first card you could get out of a pack that was $50. By 1991, there was big money in the hobby. By 92, 93, they were starting to make fancy cards and insert cards. The 92, 93 Top Stadium Club Beam Team was the first card you could get out of a pack that you could buy a small car with that thing. Now they're grading them to, I didn't realize they were grading cards back to the early 90s. PSA's been around forever. I didn't hear about grading till 2019. My cousin told me about it like it was a new concept. But I knew that was the difference between then and now. Grading and eBay was a game changer. Before, it's funny, the Wall Street Journal came in, the Wall Street Journal came in and did a 3-day video article on us. They were here for 3 days. They were here for a trade night. And one of the things that I said in the interview that actually got on there was, you know, when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me, this card's not worth $50 unless somebody will give you $50 for it. But now with eBay, that's not true. Now with eBay, we can go on and I can go look at the marketplace. A mustache. I got a mustache. Hey, it's a Junk Wax Thursday mustache. That's very nice. Thank you. And now with the eBay platform, you can look and see what this card sold for yesterday, the day before, and the cards do have intrinsic value now. Like if you had a $1.2 million Mickey Mantle card, depending on the condition, and this shit goes up to $30 million, you could get a mortgage on that thing. Like they have value. These cards have value now, whereas in the past, it was implied value. Now you can see the marketplace. That's been the biggest change, is the grading in the marketplace to see that you can have them. So once we got back, and I started getting a little bit more serious about this, we started buying a few boxes off eBay, and we bought a collection, and there was a guy that had a storage unit. We bought a storage unit. We've almost been belly up a couple times now. There was one point in time where the only way, like, it was either shut the doors or just try something drastic. So I sold everything on the table. I sold the whole table at once. Somebody bought all the boxes at cost. We basically just got out from under it. And that was enough to keep Fresh Pulls alive. We shifted to consignment. We did a lot of consignment, and that's when the guy came in with the Tupperware. Came in with a Tupperware full of 1980s and 90s boxes and changed everything. Brought Junk Wax Thursday back to life. When I tell you we set the market for the Playboy cards, I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart. I bought so many of those boxes at the same price, with everybody I was cleaning them out from asking me, what are you doing with these? Like, how could you possibly be selling this many boxes of Playboy cards? Nobody's buying these but you. Well, we didn't set the Topps Finest market, but we definitely gave it a boost. Like, I sold 4 jumbo boxes, 6 regular boxes, bought a couple off the internet, and then all of a sudden people started realizing, oh, this is the first Jordan refractor. The price of the card started going up, and then the prices of the box started going up, and now it's out of hand. The most recent box that we're doing that with, 1992-93 Top Stadium Club, that box was dirt cheap for the longest time. This was the first time I've had to raise my prices. 92-93 Top Stadium Club, finally getting its due. That Beam Team, the Michael Jordan Beam Team, the Shaq Beam Team, Dan Andrews, thank you for the hat and mustache. I assume that's what you mean. But yeah, no, we bought collections and a storage unit, and like I've been keeping my eye out. But it's tough to stay on top of, especially because a lot of the sins of the past. Because we went so belly up so quick. Like I said, the Wall Street Journal was here. Like when the Wall Street Journal was here, we were ready to be big time. We thought we were competing with Backyard Breaks. We had an investors meeting with a guy that was ready to invest $2 million for us to take down Backyard Breaks. That was literally his goal. He had just had an investors meeting with them. He wasn't happy with them. He didn't like the guys. He didn't like the evaluation. He wanted us to take them down, and he was about to throw $2 million at us. Well, think about it. If you gave me $2 million, I'm not going to be able to flip that. I'm not going to be able to build that team. You need a team. So we had a team. We had a video guy. We had a TikTok guy. We had an editing guy. We had a inventory guy. There were 3 of us. Like, we had a squad. When we went to the Nationals, we rented a mansion. We were deep. We were squad deep. But we were borrowing money to pay those guys, borrowing money to buy stuff, borrowing money to pay stuff, borrow money. We were upside down at $500,000 before I knew it. One of my partners took off to Hawaii. The other one was kind of just moping around, and I asked, do you want to leave? Like, if you could run away from this, would you run away? And he did. He ran away. And I was the last one here. Teddy, God bless Teddy. Make me cry about it. Teddy jumped on the ship when he realized this ship was sinking. Like, Teddy came in to help when things were going rocky, when he realized why things were sinking. Teddy jumped on when everybody else was jumping off. But have you seen a green Precious Metals Kobe? No, the precious metal gems are one of my favorite inserts. We have seen the Marvel precious metal gems. I know that it used to be, I think it was Skybox did the precious metal gems, and then Fleer bought Skybox, and then Upper Deck bought Fleer. So Upper Deck does the precious metal gems now, but back in the day it was Skybox. And now Upper Deck makes Marvel cards. We pulled a one of, I say the royal we pulled a one of one Iron Man PMG that we sold on our website. We sold on eBay for like 10 grand, and I think it was too soon, too quick. Like we put 10,000 or best offer, gone. Getting emails left and right. Do you still have Iron Man? Do you still have Iron Man? But I pulled the number to 10 Wolverine. Captain America. We pulled the number to 50 Wolverine, number to 75. Precious metal gems are my jam. I absolutely love them. God bless Teddy. God bless Teddy. That's for sure. But after I got out of school, I got a job at a hotel working as a valet. Worked my way up. One of the girls that was at the concierge desk, she wanted a vacation and there was no help. So she went down to the manager and demanded that he hire someone else. And I went down to the office and I wanted to be a doorman. But I knew that if I was a concierge at a 5-star hotel, that would help my resume. Because basically a concierge is just a doorman that stands out in the street. So I went to the general manager's office, the only general manager I've ever been scared of. And I told him, you know what, I gave him my whole speech that I had been practicing. I said, I think I'm the best man for the job. And he said, I don't think you're the best man for the job. The best man for the job works at the Four Seasons right now, and he's been doing it for 10 years. I said, well, he's not here. He's like, you're right. He's not here. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 90 days to be the best concierge we have. And a couple of people quit. One guy got fired, and sure as shit, I was the best concierge they had in 90 days. I did it. But my goal was to be a doorman. So I applied at a new hotel. They had just opened the 90 Hotel. Their address was 90 Tremont Street. The name of the hotel was 90. It was going to be this fancy new boutique hotel. And I wanted to be a doorman. And it's one of those positions that guys don't leave. Guys do not leave. The guy that finally left the Ritz when I got there, 66 years. He had been, Norman the doorman, was there for 66 years. They had a fucking day in the city for him when he retired. So when I put in my resume for the new hotel, I actually took my lunch break and ran over for the interview. And I could tell that it was the first time the kid even looked at my resume. Like he was looking at my resume and reading through the cover letter as I was sitting there. And he goes, you were a concierge at the Boston Harbor Hotel? I looked at him and I said, my man, I am a concierge at the Boston Harbor Hotel. Like I'm literally on my lunch break right now. So if we could speed this up. He's like, why do you want to be a doorman? I was like, well, I've always wanted to be a doorman and those positions don't come up often. I'd like to be a doorman. He's like, would you consider being a concierge? Because it's far more valuable to the hotel. I was like, no, I want to be a doorman. So I did. I got the job. I was there for like 6 months, and the Ritz-Carlton reopened. And a buddy of mine came over and he said, hey, listen, the Ritz is looking for a doorman. He's like, I don't know how it happened. It's a union hotel. These guys wait forever to get this job. He said, but there's one position open. I went over and met with the manager. He was a new manager. He only had 2 new positions. 3. One bellman, one doorman, and one concierge. The rest of the guys had been there. The youngest guy that had been there for 15 years. I went in, I sat down with him, and he said, listen, not for nothing, everybody in this city has been waiting for this hotel to reopen. Every doorman in the city has applied for this position. If they were all in the room today, what would you say to separate yourself? And I said, honestly, my man, I feel like you guys need me more than I need you. I have a really good gig. When I went in there, I got to tell them exactly what my schedule was going to be. I set out my plan at the door. I got as many spots as I could ask for. I got the days off that I need with my daughter. It's me and one other guy, and we work it out. I said, I'm going to be the best doorman in the city, and I feel like this is the type of hotel who wants the best doorman in the city in front of their hotel. If you want me, here I am. And he said, 24 years old, cocky as a prick. I had just had my daughter like 2 years ago. Now, I don't know if anybody's a girl dad, but when you're a girl dad, like instant superhero. Instant. 22 years old, I was a fucking superhero right away. Soon as I held that baby girl, superhero. 24 years old, sitting in front of that guy, and I told him exactly how I felt about it. I am going to be the best doorman in the city. If you want me, here I am. He said, can you hold on 1 minute? I'm going to need you to say that again. And he ran and got his manager. The general manager of the hotel came in. I didn't say it the exact same way, but we had a good conversation. He called me a week later, and I got the job. And for almost 20 years, I was a doorman at the Ritz-Carlton in Boston. I mean, the Ritz-Carlton. It was the first property. They sent all their managers, all their high-end managers went through the Ritz-Carlton. They literally wrote the book on service. Like the guy that wrote the book that they all use at all the 5-star hotels worked at the Ritz-Carlton when he wrote the book. I was the department trainer at the time. We had trainers coming in. I was working with the trainers, so I worked at the highest level of customer service. And I had a lot of people ask me, like, what are you gonna do when you grow up? I always look real young. What are you gonna do when you grow up? Like, what are you still doing here? And I was like, I love this. Like, I love what I do. Like, I love being part of the city of Boston. The Yankees used to stay at the hotel. Like, when the Red Sox Yankees was the Red Sox Yankees, when that shit was real, like, the Yankees stayed at the hotel. It was like I was part of the game. I went dress shopping or tie shopping with Manny Ramirez. Like, he bought a tie and some cufflinks. I picked out the fucking tie. Manny Ramirez is standing there with 5 of the ugliest ties I've ever seen. He's like, puppy, what do you think of these? I'm like, I hate them all. I hate them all, puppy. I can't explain how much of a part of my personality it was to be that guy. And when this opportunity came up, I had a choice to make. Do I want to stay and go back to the hotel and do this and just be the money guy? Or do I want to dive in? And it did not seem like that this was going to be a small-time operation. I thought it was going to take my full-time attention, and it did. It got to the point where I had a choice to make. Our grand opening, the day we cut the ribbon here at Fresh Bowls was the day they were cutting the ribbon at the now Newberry Hotel. They sold the hotel. They closed down for like a year, which, when I say the universe has been rigged in my favor, since long before the universe has been rigged in my favor, every sign has been there. They shut down the hotel for a year and gave me an opportunity to start this. I never would have left that job if I didn't have a year to see what it was like without it. And when I told my daughter I was going to leave and do this full time, she said, Dad, you can't leave. I said, why is that, baby? She said, because you are a doorman. And like, I didn't notice that anybody else noticed that. Like, I knew that. Like, I knew how much, like, I'm a dad and I'm a doorman. And that's who I was. And for the longest time, like, that was a big part of, like, my personality, like, being a part of Boston. So giving that up was tough. But this has been a dream. I don't know if giving it all to do all over again, I'd do the same thing all over again. I know it, and I'd be back in the same place. One quick question is G-Lock here. G-Lock, I think it was you that said you were going to hop in the box for 5 minutes and give us your origin story. Episode 1, we gave my origin story, how I got into sports card collecting. Episode 2, we got into how we started Fresh Bowls. And then episode 3, here we are, got how I got out of the hotel industry and into Fresh Bowls. G-Lock, if you're here, I'll go ahead and give you 5 minutes in the box. If not, we're going to wrap it up. If anybody made any purchases while we were doing story time with Uncle Jesse, we're going to go ahead and rip them over there in about 5 minutes. I'm going to set the sales items list back up again, and I'll see you guys there. If you have any questions for next week, we're going to do same bad time, same bad channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, story time with Uncle Jesse. And reminder, we've got an autographed baseball repack event coming up. There will be 101 baseballs. 101 people will get a baseball and a ticket. And at the end of the event, everybody with a ticket is going to get a chance at the Willie Mays baseball. This is a Red Sox team signed ball. Most of the balls all have certificates of authentication. The Willie Mays is double certified. We have 2 certifications on the Willie Mays ball. We're going to have all of these available to you soon. The Uncle Jesse Warehouse Adam collaboration repack event will be coming to you soon, and I will see you guys next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, or in 5 minutes over there. Love you guys. This has been another episode of Storytime with Uncle Jesse, filmed live in front of a studio audience and brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.